Gentlemen, I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. Now, today we're going to look at the IS-3 Defender. I was going to say we're going to play, but we're not going to play. We've got a decent replay for you, but we're more going to talk about what the tank used to be like, how good it was, and what it's like now. So, of course, the IS-3 Defender is basically an IS-3, except for it was one of the first auto loaders in the game. And when it was first introduced to the game, it was broken. It felt broken. There was nothing like it. And yeah, everybody just wanted this tank, and it took years for Wargaming to sell this tank outright because it was a tank that everybody wanted. Now, when this was first released, people got it for free, and I think it was, they had so many, I don't know how many it was, maybe like 1,000 or 500 or something like that, available where you could get for free. And I managed to get it. I did manage to get it for free. I grinded hard to be able to get it, and I did exactly that. It was the first Defender in the game. Obviously, now there are quite a few Defenders in the game, and to be honest, I love that fact. You know, I love the Defenders. Some of them obviously are not great at in game, but they all look fantastic. And this was the first of its kind, and it was just completely different to any other tank that we had in the game. I know it's an IS-3, but it was an IS-3 autoloader. Nowadays, you say that, then it doesn't really mean anything to anyone. You know, it's not special because there's just so many autoloaders out there. But yeah, when this was first released, it was just nothing like it in the game. And it was amazing, and everybody wanted it. So we're going to have a look at the stats, and then we will get into a replay that someone sent me that is a very, very good replay. So the armor, the turret armor is 249 on that turret. So very, very strong turret. However, there are some weak points on that turret, so you do still need to be very, very careful. Against tier 7s, then yeah, there's not going to be many tanks that pen your turret. However, the whole armor is only 110, and because it is a pike nose, you've got to be very, very careful. And to be fair, the armor on the front isn't very special, in my opinion. So your DPM, just the average for a tier 8 heavy tank at 1888. Now the magazine reload has always been something that really does suck on the tank, but you never really minded because again it was something different. It had the auto loader. And yeah, it was very, very nice. 23.14 seconds on your magazine reload. So that is literally like, that's quite a lot. That is just over, I mean, a quarter of a minute there. So yeah, it's a long time to reload in a heavy tank that's not really quick. I mean, it's not bad for speed, but it's not very quick. 23 seconds feels like a lifetime when you're getting smashed in the face from another tank, especially if it is a medium tank that is trying to circle you. So the shell reload time is 7.5 seconds, and it has 3 shells in its magazine. So again, you shoot 7.5 seconds later, you shoot again, and then 7.5 seconds later, shoot again, and of course you then have the 23-second reload. Your penetration is 232 on your APCR, 297 on your heat, so yeah, not bad pen to be fair. You'll get through most things, maybe against tier 9s, heavies, VKs, E75s, you will struggle against, and of course also some tier 8 heavies, Tiger 2s, you should be able to penetrate them with, as soon as you switch to that heat. 67 on your HE. Now you've got a 400 alpha gun per shot, so you could do 1200 for a magazine, which is not bad, especially if you are trying to clear up some lower hit point tanks. 340 on your heat and 500 on your HE. Aim time, of course, really does suck at 6 seconds. Dispersion also sucks at 0.389. You do have 7 degrees of gun depression with a top speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So the speed is not bad. The tank looks absolutely beautiful, especially when the electricity does sort of come on the tank. And again, like I said, it was something that no one had ever really seen, and just the look of it, the hear of it, it was fantastic. So let's have a look in game at this replay that someone sent, just to see how it plays on the battlefield. So the tank nowadays, I don't believe it performs half as better than it used to be. Honestly, like, people used to be scared of it, and when you used to run an IS-3 Defender with in a platoon against sort of tier 6s, it was just insane, because obviously when this tank was first released, there was +2, -2 matchmaking. So yes, you would come up against tier 10s, but you would also see those tier 6 tanks, and it was just insane. It really was absolutely insane, and yeah, people just spammed them. Like the IS-3 Defender, I haven't played in years, but yet it's still in my top 5, I think, maybe even my top 3 most played tanks, because it was just a fun tank to play that could cause so much damage and issues for the enemy team, especially if you are playing it in platoons. And most of my games in a IS-3 Defender was in a platoon, because it was fun to come up against tier 6s. You didn't really mind back then when you come up against tier 10s either. You could still destroy tier 10s as easy as you could destroy tier 8s and tier 9s. So it wasn't that much of an issue, this tank coming up against those tier 10s, because it equaled that, sort of, it bettered that coming up against tier 6s, and they just couldn't do anything to you. Even your hull, like, your hull's not weak, but against a tier 6, all you really see was red. And yeah, it made it very difficult for people playing tier 6s, of course, because when you're playing tier 6s, you would come up against tier 8s, but you wouldn't come up against tier 4s, because the +2, -2 matchmaking only sort of started at tier 5 and above. So if you're playing tier 5, you would only see tier 4 and tier 7. If you was playing tier 4, it would only be +1 -1 matchmaking. So you'd only see tier 3 or tier 5. But tier 5s would see tier 7s. So yeah, it really made tier 6s struggle in the game. But yeah, it's not a tank I never think of now. I never think of the IS-3 Defender. If I come up against the IS-3 Defender, it isn't a tank that I worry about, and I don't think it's a tank that does have a massive impact overall in the game. Now, of course, you will still get the odd occasional battle where, like, this guy has got this game. He plays it absolutely fantastic. Even at this point in the game, where there's 3 tanks left alive, he's already done 3.2k damage. You know, I think that is absolutely remarkable. It hasn't blocked a lot of shots at the moment. There is still, he's lost most of his hit points. He's up against an SU-101 that could destroy him. The Yo could destroy him, like, instantly almost, with 2 shells. So it's not looking good for him at the moment. And I find, if you are playing the IS-3 Defender, most of your bounces, just like any kind of IS, especially the later lines, like the IS-8, the IS-7, you'll bounce when you don't really want to bounce. If you're trying to bounce, you probably won't bounce. And it's one of those troll bounces, you know, spaced armor, etc., and it will take a lot. Even this kind of position, our guy, if he tries to side scrape, then he's not going to get anywhere. The best thing to do, like any IS-8, the IS-3, the IS-7, if you are in this kind of situation, the best kind of thing you can do is face the enemy. That's the best thing you could do, is face the enemy. I know you have the lower plate, but again, if you're moving side to side, if you are not facing them and you're sort of side hugging against these guys or angling against these guys, then your pike nose does become very, very weak. So just like an IS-7, if you do come up against them, even side on, like, it will still fool people, because you're more likely to get a bounce like side on than you are if you're face on, because it's Russian, it's, you know, Russian armor, that's how it works. But overall, used to be a fantastic tank, and I'd like to see how many of you guys remember the IS-3 Defender back in the day, because it was a one-of-a-kind tank, absolutely fantastic, a really fun tank to play as well. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'm Meadsy, and I will catch you all soon. Bye-bye.